She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hello, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're so happy that you chose today to join us on this awesome adventure of growing in our success every single day. I'm Dani Johnson, grew up on welfare, pregnant at 17, homeless at 21, but millionaire by 23. Today, multi-millionaire, best-selling author, radio and television show host who has a passion for seeing you succeed. You know, there's something that I've seen through the years in my own heart, as well as in the people that I've had the beautiful privilege and honor of working with, that many of us have a past filled with rejection. Rejection seems to be a really twisted thing. Rejection is one of those things that, even as I just shared with you what my past was, you know, I was raised by a family that had a crazy amount of abuse in it. And when you've got that kind of crazy abuse and you've been rejected and not accepted, you find yourself in a life, almost for some people, for the rest of their lives, you find yourself trying to gain acceptance, and often from all the wrong people. Do you fear being rejected? Are you somebody that has been rejected? There's a lot of different ways that rejection gets carried out in our lives. It affects our marriages. It affects our business or careers. It affects even our finances. When you have that spirit of rejection, you have a tendency of holding back, not going all in. You have a tendency of being somebody that is afraid of trusting people. This doesn't help in your finances at all. It doesn't help with your business either. Certainly will hurt a marriage and relationship with kids, as well as with friends and other family members. This is something that I carried for a really long time. Didn't even know that it was there. I just have these thoughts go through my head all the time that really controlled me. And I found myself not being able to commit to some things and really holding back, especially in my marriage. I really held back in my marriage. Prior to Hans and I getting married, man, he was everything to me. I just loved him with everything that was in me. But as soon as we got married, everything changed. I mean, everything changed. Everything inside of my heart, all of a sudden, I didn't trust him anymore. All of a sudden, I didn't like him anymore. All of a sudden, I was waiting for him to maybe abuse me. I was waiting for him to somehow turn into the man that raised me. Being accepted by a father figure, there's actually very few things that are more powerful than that for someone's confidence, for someone's vision, for someone's happiness. And on the other side, likewise, rejection, being rejected by your father figure in your life, that also can pay a crazy price. It's a price that we seem to pay and again and again. You see, when we carry the spirit of rejection, it will even cause us to buy, trying to fill a hole, not just a little hole, but let's say a cavern like the Grand Canyon. Just this huge void that's inside of us that truly just wants to be accepted, but never thinks that we will. That's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be digging in, exposing the lie of rejection, the pain and the suffering that it can cause, and how to dig yourself out of that situation. People who carry rejection also self-sabotage themselves. They self-sabotage their weight goals, self-sabotage their financial freedom goals, their debt reduction goals, self-sabotaging their relationships at work, in the community, self-sabotaging their own reputation. Man, they start doing really, really good, and then, bam, they just completely mess the entire thing up because somehow they've gotten used to and they have chosen to believe that rejection is just a way of life. Well, I'm here to tell you rejection is nothing but a lie. So if you have been affected by rejection, have you been rejected? What did it feel like? How did it affect your life? What price have you paid as a direct result of this hurt that someone didn't teach you how to walk through? 844-200-3264 is my number. Again, that's 844-200-3264. In just a few minutes, we're going to be taking your call live, and we really are. We're going to dig deep in looking at what is the result of rejection. How has it played a part in your life? And how were you able to overcome? What things did you have to learn to be able to get over this fear of rejection or this self-sabotaging spirit that you have carried into the relationships in your life, including your relationship with your finances? I found for myself that I hated myself. And that was all based on what my father, not my biological father, but my adopted father had told me. You know, you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, you can't do anything right. I'd worked so hard to try to get his acceptance through sports. He had played football through high school, even was recruited to a professional football team when he was 18 years old, fresh out of high school. He was 265 pounds, 6'8", at 15 years old. So he got recruited to play for the Los Angeles Rams when he was only 18 years old. He then, within the first season, hurt himself and never played again and was on disability pretty much for the rest of his life. So I thought that the way to gain acceptance from my dad would be through sports. And so I became an incredible athlete, the best in my particular league in California and in Oregon, the best rebounder, the best scorer, led many basketball teams. My average points were crazy high. It actually earned me 26 scholarship offers to various different universities around the country. In fact, I got the scholarship offers my junior year in high school because my ability for basketball and volleyball was so high and my grades were okay. And so they said, if you complete this next year with the same grade point average and the same average for scoring, then, you know, you've got a full ride into our NCAA school. Well, I swallowed a baby instead. That sounded wrong. I got pregnant instead that summer. Again, looking for acceptance, looking for love, looking for somebody to say you're worthy, you're something, you matter to me, I care for you. My high school boyfriend wasn't the right pick for that. That really was a disaster. Anyway. But it does. You know, when you carry that rejection, you begin to think that everyone's going to reject you in that same way. And that's honestly how I felt about life, that everyone's going to reject me, that I'm always going to end up feeling hurt, and that everyone's going to abandon me, and I can't trust anybody. And so I destroyed my life in many different instances. And I destroyed myself financially because I carried this self-hate. Because if my dad, again, I didn't find out that he wasn't my dad until I was 17 and a half, meaning biologically, but my dad rejected me. He rejected everything. You know, he never went to a single one of my basketball or volleyball games, not one, not a single awards, a ceremony, nothing. Like, he never participated with all of it. He was home every single day. He could have come. He wasn't disabled how you would think disabled was. He totally lied again, trying to get more money from the government with this so-called disability. He lost it a couple times too because they caught him playing basketball or they caught him playing football, which, you know, was stupid when you're saying that you are disabled. But anyway, long story short, I carried this hatred for myself. And when you hate yourself, you can't love others. That's what I found to be the truth. When you hate yourself, you can't love others. When you hate yourself, well, when you follow that track all the way out, friend, well, I just say this. At 6 years old, this is the first time I tried to commit suicide. I battled with suicide well into my late 20s, early 30s, actually. I battled with it. It was like a physical battle daily. It was a fight to keep myself alive. And honestly, I didn't want to stay alive. I tried to commit suicide several times. I just failed at it. I couldn't even do that right. And that then was like what would go through my head. Like, you can't even do that right. So just that voice, you know what I mean? Just that tormenting voice that just says, you can't do anything right. And when you believe that you can't do anything right, what do you become? You become somebody that can't do anything right. Because we both know that our beliefs produce actions and behaviors. And those actions and behaviors produce results. That's how it works. Words literally are like seed. The word seed comes with everything that it needs to reproduce itself. And I received the seed of rejection from the man that raised me. And I received that seed of rejection from the kids on the playground. I received that seed of rejection from my sisters who completely rejected me and hated my guts. And you know what? They should have. I was a terrible older sister. I was awful. We were all 18 months apart, the three of us growing up in this abusive home. You know, my parents used to say, go outside and beat the blank out of them. You know, take care of them for me, you know, and I would, which was awful, that I would literally get in a fist fight with my sisters instead of trying to protect them. They had been abused too by my father. And I didn't do anything about it. I didn't stand up to try to protect them. I hated them just as much as they hated me. And that's what happens when that seed of rejection, because again, you first will reject yourself. You will reject yourself, and you will reject others. It's painful. Even you will reject the people that you want to love, that you think you love. It's where this voice inside of you, or even it's a feeling that I can tell you that maybe every time your spouse talks, you just want to reject it. You just want to argue with it. You want to stand against it. You don't even know whether or not you agree with it. But there's this thing that rises up inside of your belly that says, no, I don't like you. I don't like what you're saying. You drive me crazy. I can't stand you. The sound of your voice makes me want to vomit. Do you know what I'm saying? If you've got that, you're carrying that seed of rejection. And today, we're going to help you solve it. Today, you're going to learn, not just from myself, but from others. Because there are people who are listening right now. You're going to call me, 844-200-DANI, where you've been able to overcome. Or if you need help overcoming this self-rejection and the rejection of others and self-sabotaging, 844-200-DANI. We're going to work through it together. I found a solution, and it has worked. I wouldn't be sitting in the seat talking to you right now if I still was carrying this wicked seed of rejection that had a goal, and that was to take my life. It had a goal to destroy my marriage, to destroy my relationship with my children, to destroy my finances. It had a goal. It had a mission. But that seed has been destroyed, and so will the one that perhaps is in you. This is Dani Johnson, 844-200-3264. I'm going to take your call in this very next segment.
This is the Dani Johnson Show.
For families in Santa Pancha, Nicaragua, life is filled with fear and struggle. They don't have enough food for their kids, clean water is hard to find, and they're living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel on top of mining tunnels that could explode and sink at any moment. But a miracle is in the making, and you can be a part of transforming this village. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha to see how you can help. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org, and click on Santa Pancha.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Rejection strangled me, literally like a murderer. Its grip was around my throat, sucking the life out of me. Where did it come from? How did it get there? Why did I submit myself to that voice that continuously said, you're nothing, you're worthless, you're useless, you can't do anything right? Why don't you just die? It all started from the rejection that I received as a young little girl. I believed what people had said about me, but I had to learn how to overcome. Because if you carry rejection, you fear being rejected and you reject others. You won't accept success. You won't accept love. You won't accept anything that is good, including a loving relationship with the Creator who desires for you to know Him and to know Him more intimately. We're going to the phones because I want to hear from you, your take on rejection. How has it impacted your life, or how have you been able to overcome? Line 6, we have Evelyn from Pennsylvania. Evelyn, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Thank you, Dani. Thank you so much for all that you do. You've really made a difference in my life.
Good. So talk to me about rejection.
Well, I too was rejected as a child, by my father. I was the older sister, like you. We have so much in common, you and I. When you were just speaking, it was amazing. It gave me goosebumps. And I too was looking for love in all the wrong places and looking for other things, to get into, looking for people to give me the love that I never had. And, it does affect your life, your whole life. Mm-hmm. And
how did it affect your life? You know what I mean? Like, tell me specifically, how did it affect your life? What area did it affect?
Well, it has affected, my marriage,
how?
My business.
Tell me how. Tell me how. Give me something specific.
Same, just no matter what, the rejection of, my husband, he travels a lot. Mm-hmm. And so since we've been married, he's traveled off and on. And then that right there is like, oh, here we go again, another reminder. Well, my husband, has to travel for work. So there's another
he doesn't want to be with me. That's how you perceive his travel. He doesn't want to be with me. If I was a better wife, if I was a better woman, if I was prettier, if I was thinner, if I was more beautiful, he would not take the job that forces him to travel.
Exactly. And so that causes arguments because, in his line of work, he has to travel. And so, and then, with family, I'm in network marketing, so then you get the rejection of your family, your friends. You're weird, and you're doing that, and that'll never work, or and then you get rejected by family. I've been rejected by church people, a church, in my past, and just a lot. It keeps reproducing itself. That's what it does. That's what that spirit of rejection that we receive as a kid will continue to do. Because if we look at, seed comes with everything that it takes to reproduce itself. And then when it does reproduce itself, it comes up with a tree full of more fruit that then falls to the ground and reintegrates again, but it multiplies this time. So even if it was, rejected by one person to your life, and now it multiplies the amount of people that you are being rejected by. Now, this is something that's so important. You, Evelyn, must forgive your father. Because if you do not forgive your father, we are going to continue to reproduce this rejection in your life. Forgiveness is so powerful. And honestly, you have to follow the fruit to the root system. And the root system starts with dad, with him rejecting you. And you got to kill that root system. You have to uproot that system because it will continue again and again. And so like what you said, here you are as a wife, and as a wife thinking that you're not good enough because if you were more, then your husband wouldn't travel. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with this is how your husband is providing. What a gift. This is how he's providing for you. This is how he's loving you. This is how he's providing for the family, for the household. And yet we who carry rejection could have such a twisted, thwarted, even sometimes evil mindset that will destruct a good blessing only to come to that conclusion again of, see, I was rejected. See, nothing ever goes good for me. See, everyone hates me. See. Evelyn, thank you so much for being so transparent and sharing the price that you've paid on your marriage with rejection. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to take more calls right after this.
Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show. More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success. Change your habits, change your future. This is The Dani Johnson Show.
You know, I've paid a hefty price in my life because of choosing to believe the opinions of not the right people. In fact, people in general. Have you ever heard of this? That the fear of man will prove to be a snare. Oh, it's so powerful. I'm going to say it again. The fear of man will prove to be a snare.
I feared people's opinions for a long time. I feared about what you would think of me if I said really how I felt. I feared and worried about what you would think about how I looked, what my hair was like, or my nose, or my crooked mouth, or my super lanky legs, and my really monkey arms, and hello, my man-sized hands. I really cared about you rejecting me, even though I didn't even know you. It would put me under the covers day after day after day. I even feared people speaking bad about me, saying terrible, horrible things behind my back, accusing me of things I had not done. Why? Where did that come from? Why is it that all of a sudden these thoughts come into my head? Well, when I followed the fruit that was in my life, this fruit of all of this fear of man, I followed it to the root system. And it all started with being rejected in the womb by my biological father. My biological father who planted a seed inside of my mother and wanted that seed to be gone. This was now rejection. You see, this Bible says that the sins of the father will be passed down to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. My dad at the time was not walking with God. And he didn't want a child with this 17-year-old girl that he barely knew. Well, then he probably shouldn't have slept with the 17-year-old girl he was 24. But that was what happened. We all do stupid things when we're young, don't we? But that rejection, I was rejected in the womb. I carried that rejection for the rest of my life, up until I came to a place of following the fruit to the root and forgiving my biological father, including the one that adopted me, who also rejected me and abused me. I began to see a whole new life for myself. We're going to the phones. We're talking about the power of rejection and how to overcome it. It penetrates your finances. Yes, part of the reason why you're in debt is because you've self-sabotaged yourself due to carrying this spirit of rejection, non-acceptance. Even self-hatred will lead you to destroying yourself financially, as well as quitting every good job that you've ever had, walking out when things seem to get hard. Same with being divorced, like, I'm out of here, goodbye. That spirit of rejection, the non-acceptance of yourself and others, will literally destroy, like an atomic bomb, obliterate, even like a nuclear bomb, obliterate, disintegrate, bring to ash everything that is important to you. Jessica is from Tennessee. Jessica, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. What's your take on rejection? How has it impacted your life?
Hi, Dani. How are you today?
Good.
Good. Well, for me, I've been rejected due to age and being female and for being Puerto Rican. So it affected my life.
Oh, no, you're Puerto Rican? Oh, I can't even believe I'm talking to you right now. Don't you know that Puerto Ricans are not allowed on the Dani Johnson Show? Wait a minute. And you're a woman? Wait, and your name is Jessica. Whoops. How in the world did she not get screened out of calling in today? Come on, girlfriend.
I had a special connection from the guy above. But at any rate, I really learned early on, and it was really painful because when I moved here from the United States from Puerto Rico, I didn't know how to speak English. So I started in the English as a second language course, and teachers and counselors, everybody made fun of me because of my accent. So I made it a goal that I was going to learn English better than anyone else.
And you did, girlfriend, because I cannot tell that you're Puerto Rican.
Thank you.
Your accent's perfect.
Yeah, it was really tough, though, to have people stand you up in front of the class and only to hear your accent so they could laugh.
Wow.
So that was the first rejection that I started feeling, and then it came from men, obviously, and not learning how to handle that, and then in business. But it was so interesting because as I look back in my life, that every single time I was rejected, I was being redirected to something bigger and better.
Yes!
And I had to get to a place, and I'm still working on it. It's an everyday thing, where I had to get to a place where I just had to realize that to be a little bit more tolerant of people's closed minds
and
pride.
Yes. Yes. And
know
not
who
judge
I
them
am
and
in
not judge them for their pride. Because if one is judging another for their pride, guess what? They have pride themselves. We've elevated ourselves and think higher of ourselves if we ought, if we are looking at the pride in someone else. Or if we're judging somebody else's closed mind, guess what? They are nothing but a mere reflection of us. We're being closed-minded to them because they're closed-minded.
Absolutely. And I went through a really rough situation in the last couple of months for the rejection part, where some people didn't like me. They didn't even know me, but they didn't like me because of.
Who knows? Who knows?
I thought that it took me back to when I was 8 years old, and I had to work and then remember who I am in God and what He says about me to get back to that place that it's okay, I am who I am, and their opinion of me doesn't matter because my Father's opinion is what matters.
And He says, girlfriend, that you are beautifully made, wonderfully made, that He respects what He made, that when He looks upon you, you take His breath away. That's what He says.
Absolutely.
He is for you. He is for you. He is for you. He is for you. And it doesn't matter what man or woman is against you. Jessica, I got to touch on this because this is a really important thing. This is a way to deal with rejection from others. And by the way, I love your courage. I absolutely love the courage that is in you. And you said that every time you've been rejected, you've actually been redirected to something better. And here's two things. Number one, you are tested. We all are tested by the praises or the rejection of others. That's what the Bible says. How we respond to rejection determines whether or not we get promoted to a higher leadership level. That's the facts. Also, how we respond to the praises of other people. You see, for some of us, the praises of other people causes us to get puffed up, and we read our own press and we think higher of ourselves than we ought, which is incredibly dangerous. We've all heard this statement that the worst thing about success is a little bit. So this is about a balanced way to live of, okay, hold on, I need to filter the rejection, filter the acceptance, even the approval and praises of the people. That's something I have to do constantly. I mean, you have to see that daily on our Facebook page and Twitter, as well as through email, we're daily getting. I have stacks. I have oodles and oodles and oodles of stacks of thank you cards. I feel so blessed that I would have such a thing. But I have to filter when I'm getting those thank you cards. I have to filter what people are saying. Dani, you've changed my. I have to really filter that because I have to go. Wait a minute. I can't change anybody's life. Only God can. Only God can actually do that. And so I love how you turned rejection into an opportunity to be redirected to grow. And that is leadership right there. That is humility. That is the right attitude to have with rejection. And Jessica, I'm really, really, really proud of you. I'm proud of you. He's proud of you. You've handled this appropriately. You've done the right thing. What I've done through the years when people just right off the bat, come on, I'll be getting on a stage in front of 1,200 people, 1,500 people, 1,000 people. And that's a lot of people from around 10 to 15 different nations around the world. And there's always a good portion of the people in the room who look at me, just like those that are in their car right now listening to me, like, who do you think you are? Who are you anyway? Where do you come from? What horse did you ride in on? Okay? Yeah. I don't like your show. Well, then turn the channel. Why are you listening? Okay? I found an approach with rejection that worked really powerfully. Because no matter who we are, no matter how we look, come on, there's some that will reject you if you're heavy. There's others that will reject you because you're thin. There's some that will reject you because you got a messed up nose, and there's others that will reject you because you have a perfect nose. That's the world we live in today, right? Okay, someone will reject you because you're a blonde. Others will reject you because you're a brunette. Someone will reject you because you're bald. Literally, that's the world that we live in today. It goes to show you the 7th grade, the 12-year-old maturity level of the United States of America today and other nations around the world. I mean, literally, We vote people in because they're good looking? Really? We vote somebody into an important office position because they're good looking? Or we reject somebody because they ain't good looking? When we continue, I'm going to share with you a little secret tip strategy that I've used to handle rejection. We'll continue after this.
Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
And now, back to The Dani Johnson Show.
It's important to overcome and to learn and to get the skills of being an overcomer. Why? Because, my friend, there's always going to be people in our lives that don't agree with us. There's always going to be people in our lives that stand against us. In fact, some of them are purposely sent to us just to razz us, just to be against us. And why? To test us. How will we respond when we are rejected, when our ideas are thrown away, when quickly somebody goes, nope, don't agree with it. Nope, that's out of here. I don't like what you just said. How do we respond to that? Well, I'll tell you what, if you're anything like myself and you've got a past of being rejected by your biological father and the man that adopted you, when you've been rejected a lot as a kid, well, whenever somebody doesn't agree with you, one of two things are going to happen depending on who you are and what your personality is. So one could be if you're one of those quiet, shy kind of people, you're just going to go, oh gosh, you shut down is what you do. You shut down, you bow down, you begin to have no opinion. You begin to be afraid to speak up. You begin to be afraid to share your thoughts, your hopes, your dreams. Been there, done that. Or part two. Your second response to rejection of others when they quickly come down on your idea or something you're excited about and they're like, meh, meh. They just want to stomp on it. Kind of like a 300-pound gorilla, just bam, just jumped on top of you. Well, the other kind of the personality goes, really? And then you just want to get in an all-out brawl. Even some of you Christian brothers. Yeah, even some of you Christian brothers, you still want to grab that gorilla by the neck and say, get off and shut up. You know you do. I've been in both of those scenarios. I really have. I've had the 300-pound gorilla come at me many times, shutting me down, shut up, just rejecting everything that I say, right? Oh, look at the beautiful sunset today. Boy, can you see the lavender? That ain't lavender, that's blue. Gosh, you know what I mean? All right, that's a nice color green shirt. This ain't green. It's gray. But I'm telling you what, if you got rejection issues from your past, oh my gosh, that kind of a person is going to rub you so wrong. It's going to provoke two bad responses out of you. But if you've been healed, set free and delivered, or if you were in the process of digging through, being healed of all of that rejection, like I have done for years, then guess what happens? They can reject your opinion, your idea. They can try to shut you down all they like, and you, in honor and in respect, can just let them have their own opinion, but you don't have to receive it as rejection. We're talking about the power of rejection in our lives, how it infiltrates our finances. Yeah, it infiltrates almost every single area of our lives. It's a terrible thing, but it doesn't have to continue. So if you have overcome, I'd like you to call me, 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. If you need help overcoming, that's what today's show is about, because rejection will cause you to reject your dreams, sabotage your finances, even sabotage your weight. Yep. Rejection actually affects the food choices that you make every single day. I've got on line 6 from Massachusetts. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Is it Wedley?
Yes, it's Wedley. How are you?
What a great name.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what's your take on rejection? How has it affected you?
Well, my husband left me for another woman that he met while he was working. And I felt like I was hit by a big train.
Gosh.
At first, I felt lost. And it was kind of a weird situation because we were living with his parents. And so it came with shame, embarrassment, and I mean, I was a total mess for a while.
Like how long? Like, did it take years? Could you imagine you're living with his parents, and he leaves you for another woman? Like, he did that in front of his parents.
Exactly, and he left me in the house too.
Like, so he moved out with another woman, leaving his current wife? Oh, my gosh. Okay, just hold on. We've got to cut to a quick break. I got to hear the rest of this. And how have you healed? How have you overcome? Because you know what? There's lots of people listening right now. They've had that happen to them. Whether it's a husband whose wife left him for a younger man or a wealthier man or the other way around. In your situation, gosh, hit by a truck in the gut, girlfriend. That's terrible. Oh, I'm going to get my hands on that man. We'll continue in just one moment.
This is the Dani Johnson Show. Go to DaniJohnson.com to find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
My name is Chelsea Drinkard. I am 25 years old and from Tampa, Florida. And like most college students, I was a recent college graduate, got my first big corporate America job that we were told we were supposed to do. But I had a problem. Within the first couple weeks, I found myself crying every single day after work. I thought I was going to get fired. I was on a path to financial destruction, and I had no idea how to communicate with my family or my boss. Within the very first 6 months of plugging into DaniJohnson.com, War on Debt, and First Steps to Success, I annihilated $2,500. Woo. And, weird pause. I also increased my value so much by applying First Steps to Success and what you're about to learn right now, gems, that I was offered a promotion and I received a 10% increase in my pay. When I did decide to leave, the business, I became so valuable, the CEO pulled me aside into his office for a private one-on-one meeting, asking me what they could do to keep me. Not only that, since then, I've just started, through War on Debt, I'm hosting War on Debt weekly classes. I'm facilitating War on Debt webinars. I'm living life by design, not by default, like the rest of my other friends who are stuck in debt in their 20s. And not only that, I'm going to Thailand for the 3rd time this November. I'm working with women and children rescued from the sex trafficking. So I don't know about you, but all I know is if you want to have better relationships with your friends and family, you want to increase your value at your work, you want to expand and grow your business, get more done in less time, I urge you, sit on your seats, pull out your pen and paper, turn off your phone, lean forward and hold on to every single word that Dani says, because this will change your life.
Straight talk, real answers. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Could you imagine you and your husband are living with his parents, and he meets a chick at work and he decides to move out and move in with her? That's exactly what happened with Wedley in Massachusetts. He's on the line right now. Wow, girlfriend. Yeah, you said that you felt like you got hit by a truck, man. That right when you were telling the story, honey, it hit my belly. Like, oh, like that had to knock the wind out of you. Gosh.
It was, I went through several different emotions. First, rejection, and then I didn't feel beautiful enough. And plus, I was embarrassed being in the house because I don't have any family. My whole entire family lives in Haiti, so it was just me. And I had nowhere to go. And I felt completely lost. And I found my way back through the power of Christ. And I started going to counseling to see a Christian counselor by myself and to navigate through the divorce process, first of all. And so I have to say that the one thing that helped me get over the rejection really was forgiveness.
Yes.
It was forgiveness because I felt, because of what happened, that I had the right to be mad.
Yes.
I had the right to hate him. I had the right to be mad against his entire family. Yes. I had the right to be even mad at God because I'm like, well, I did everything right, and why is this happening to me? And then every time I prayed about it, I kept coming back to the same thing. You have to forgive this man, and you have to bless him and the other woman. And I'm like, no way. I'm like, no way. I'm not going to do that because I'm the victim here.
And I am going to take my fingernails and claw that broad with everything that is in me. Oh, my
Exactly.
God.
And I tried. But what was happening when I was holding on to the hurt was that every single thing that I tried to do, I was failing. I was failing at everything. Everything I tried to do for myself to get back on I was failing miserably.
Yeah.
So finally I said, okay, God, I'm just going to obey and forgive. And I didn't know what to pray for. I said, okay, I'll just pray, God bless him.
Yes.
Bless this woman, bless him.
Yes.
And I kept praying that. And I just opened up my heart to God and let it out and the emotions, everything.
Yes.
And it took some time, little by little. Every time I prayed about it, I started seeing that because he used to go to church and he just stopped. So something broke with him, his relationship with God. And I started thinking, you can't expect someone who walked away from God to see marriage, the covenant, the same way.
Exactly.
As me.
Exactly.
So that's where the forgiveness came, because I said, let me just pray for him to find his way back to God, and then just forget about revenge, forget about what the outcome is going to be for him. Let me focus on my relationship with God. And that's really what happened. And then things started turning around for me. Things started to turn around because I learn to forgive. It was really hard but when you don't want to forgive, you become a victim. Yes. And I was stuck in the victim mentality. Yes. And I was identifying myself all the time as a victim.
Yes.
And pretty soon I was wearing out everyone around me because they got tired of hearing the story. They're like, yeah, you're right. I know it happened to you. It's terrible, but you got to move on.
Yeah.
But I realized that only God can understand what I'm going through. Only God can give me the healing that I'm looking for.
That's
so I stopped talking about it with friends. I just got on my knees every night. And I have my mom to thank for that, because my mom, she was with me long distance, mind you, long distance.
Yeah.
She would call me every day and urge me to pray and urge me to forgive. She said, I know it's hard.
Wow.
She said, I know it's hard. Believe me, you're going to get through it. And he came, I think 3 years later, his attitude changed. I mean, we got divorced, but now he's more supportive with our child, and he talks to me differently. His entire attitude changed, and I realized that his attitude is changing because I changed.
That's exactly right.
That and I don't keep throwing at his face his adultery.
Right. That's right.
And I said, I forgive you. Whatever it is, that's between you and God.
That's right.
That's none of my business.
Yep.
But right now, my focus is us parenting our child.
Amen. Amen. I'm so glad you brought up, because I was going to ask you if you actually had a child with him, because that also is a whole nother dynamic of scary, terrible, hurtful things that happen. I got to tell you, Wendy, I am so very, very proud of you. My gosh, woman. And that's the right thing. Now, here's the deal. The other flip side of the coin is this, and this is really important. When we won't forgive somebody, we are saying we've never done something wrong.
when we want revenge, we're kind of saying and elevating ourselves in a position of sinless. But in all reality, we have all fallen short, every single one of us. And we can sit there and say, but I haven't committed adultery. Well, according to the Bible, even if you look upon somebody in lust, that's adultery. If you've had sex out of marriage, that's adultery. Let's go here. If you've worshiped other gods, that is what the Bible also calls adultery. I don't worship other gods, Dani. I'm a Christian. I only worship the one true God. Really? Do you worry about finances all the time? Do you think about money all the time? Do you spend more than you make all the time? Come on. Then you have committed adultery, according to the Bible. That is idolatry of mammon. That's idolatry of the god called Baal. He's the fertility god. That is God's arch enemy back way back in the day, who is still being worshipped even today, including Ashtoreth, whose name in English is Easter. That everyone just finished celebrating Easter with bunnies and eggs. She is a fertility goddess. Really? You haven't committed adultery? Come on now. When you walk away from God and now you have put your life all into other things, it could be that you think about business and finance or people more than you think about God. You love your children more than you love God. That actually is adultery. So whenever we will not forgive somebody else, we have really become blinded to the amount of forgiveness that we've already received from Him. That's the bottom line. And if we won't forgive, He won't forgive us. It's the unforgivable sin is unforgiveness. It's kind of a crazy thing. Wendy, thank you so much for, having the courage, the humility to share. I loved every part of what you were saying, especially wearing out your friends, and you wore the identity of victim, and that's what we do. Those of us who've been rejected, we will. I'm the victim, and guess what you become? The victim again and again and again and again. I love that you are an overcomer because by the blood of Yeshua, Jesus in English, Yeshua, the Christ, the Messiah, we can overcome anything. And I mean that, absolutely anything, including what you just heard, this awesome testimony that this powerful woman has made the choice to forgive and bless, and it's turned everything around. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, we've also got Cynthia from Indiana. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hello.
Hi. What's your take on rejection?
Oh, well, mine was not my dad. I had an awesome dad. Mine would have been more my mother, trying to live up to her standards and never good enough to do. And it's ironic that I'm the one that's taking care of her now.
Oh. Okay, hold on a second, Cynthia, because there's mothers listening right now, and many of them who have also rejected their children, but they don't even know it. So I want us to get into more of the specifics. What specifically, how did you feel rejected by your mother? You said something about standards that you could never meet, but give me something specific and emotional on that.
Well, it was always, I was never as smart as my sister. I was never.
So what would she say?
Well, that, you need to try harder. How come you can't be like your sister? You need to, how come you did it that way? It was just constant. No matter how I did it, it never was good enough.
So when she would say, why can't you be as smart as your sister? Why can't you do it like your sister? What did that make you feel like?
Nothing. And as a child, you don't look at it that way. You just think, okay, I just need to do it better. Mm-hmm. I just need to do it. I have to change. I have to, everything. The Runaway Bride movie was like me to a T with my mother. And then all my relationships with men, because I always had to change to make them like me.
Wow. You know what? And so many people are doing that. I know exactly what you're saying. So many people do that. And that's where I say that rejection will cause you even to spend foolishly. We're going to continue on with this. I want to hear how you've been able to move past this, or even how it's affected your life. There are solutions for this. I don't want you to be taken over by rejection. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Stay right here for more of the Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Have you ever heard the words, why can't you be more like, and fill in the blank? Could have been the name of your sister, your brother, even your cousin, or Joey down the street. Did you grow up in a house where your mother or your father constantly compared you to other people, showing that everyone else was better than you? And no matter how hard you tried, it never was good enough. Oh, you would do your absolute best to clean off that kitchen table after dinner, and you'd be ready to hear, good job, you did a great job, but instead you would hear, you missed this spot, you missed that spot, why can't you just do this more like your sister? Did you hear things like that? Well, Cynthia has, and in hearing things like that, I want you to hear about what part this rejection from a mother has played in this daughter's life. Cynthia, welcome back.
It's Christina.
It says Christina. It says Cynthia. Thank you, Christina.
There you go. No problem.
Sorry about that. How did that then turn into your adult life of feeling like you were never going to be good enough?
Well, after years of dealing with, you don't do it right, then she gives you the silent treatment, then you go bend over backwards and you try to do it. You purposely go out of your way to do it however it would to appease her. I found that when I would meet gentlemen, and I'm the woman at the well that Jesus said, the one you're with now is not is not even your husband, and you got all these other, you have a track record. Yes. Okay, that would be me. Because I would meet men, and then I would like, football because they like football, or I would like whatever because they like this, and I was never allowed to be me. So after my last relationship was like the pit of the pit.
Because they don't get better, do they? They don't get better when you're carrying that rejection. Yeah. They get worse every single time.
It's been 9 years since I've been on a date. I just finally quit. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. Wow. Because I finally, after the last one, which was just horrific, I was done.
Yeah.
But I also too, and in all this stuff, became more rebellious.
Yes, and that's always the case. It's always the case, Christina. It's amazing to me that when parents do not possess the skill on how to pull the best out in their children, even the children that always make mistakes, when those parents don't sandwich correction with encouragement on both sides, what they do is they provoke rebellion out of those children. And then they've got a bigger problem. And that child will now go and start to destroy their life. And Cynthia, I know exactly what you're talking about because my dad was that same way. I never did anything good enough. Nothing. There was absolutely nothing that I could do to actually please him. And I did the same thing. I found myself trying to change who I was. And I didn't even know who I was at some point because I was trying to become a chameleon around every guy that I would date and trying to gain acceptance. And that just stinks. The one who you need acceptance from has already accepted you. The one who you need acceptance from has already accepted you. The reality is, we cannot conform to the opinions of man, but we are to conform to the image of Christ, who didn't give a rip about anybody else's opinion. Because if he did care about other people's opinion, they would not have hung him on the cross. He didn't care about the popular vote at all. He knew who he was. So it starts here. It starts with forgiveness. Christina, thank you so much for calling and sharing, girl. Could I identify with you or what? Yes, big time. It takes courage to face our past, but it also takes courage to forgive
the one that would not love us, the one that would not encourage us. And the reality is this, you're not going to change your mom. She probably doesn't even realize what she's done. She didn't realize the power she had in her own mouth. In fact, she gained her parenting skills, I'm sure, from her own mother, who I'm sure also did the same thing to her. That's where she learned it from. Bad parenting skills being passed on generation to generation to generation that then results in all kinds of crazy hurt and pain and suffering. But we have to do the right thing. As adults, we're no longer that child that's being pointed out everything we're doing wrong. As adults, we can make a choice to reach for healing and restoration. We can reach for reconciliation with our Father in heaven, who doesn't look down on us saying, you did that wrong, you did that wrong, you did that wrong. No, he looks down upon us. If we have confessed our sins before him, then he says that all he sees is the blood of Jesus over us. The blood of the Lamb covers us, completely covers us of all of our unrighteousness, all of our wickedness, all of the evil that is within us. When we confess that to him, then he washes it clean. And the only way for healing and restoration with other human beings is through the power of forgiveness. That's the only way. It's the only way. It's the only way. You know, I've had God confront me on things like that before. Like, I don't want to forgive somebody. Well, okay, I guess you don't want me to forgive you. Okay, I usually buckle right there. But then here's another one. Forgive as I have forgiven you. Oy. Did you hear that? Forgive as I have forgiven you. It's powerful. You've been forgiven of much. I've been forgiven of much. And I'm going to be forgiven of much moving forward, too, because this girl ain't perfect. Just look at that grammatical error right there. But seriously, if we have been forgiven much, then it is our duty to forgive much of others. So break that hardened heart today. Break the animosity. Also break the distrust that you might have with other human beings in your life. Because as you do that, you get free. It's not releasing them from the responsibility of what they did. That's between them and God. That's the reality. That is between them and God. Whatever unconfessed sin that they have before the Lord, there will be a book opened up one day. And every single sin that they have committed against him and others is going to be in that book. Okay? Some people have got books that are like, wow, you know, the size of what the first computers were. They took up entire buildings. I want to make sure that there's not a gigantic book on me. I want to make sure that every time I've sinned against myself, my God, and my fellow man, that is accounted for. God, please forgive me. And I want to go to that person that I've offended, that I've hurt, that I put down, that I've berated, and say, please forgive me. I was completely wrong. I was completely wrong. I want to do better next time, and I ask you hold me accountable. This is Dani Johnson. I hope that you've enjoyed today's show on rejection and how to overcome so much awesome content that every single person, including Christina, our very last caller, brought into this. What an awesome, powerful conversation. You might want to share this show with some other people. Maybe let them go to our archives on our website, DaniJohnson.com. Well, today is over, at least for the Dani Johnson Show. We'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless you. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been the Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.